Hey everyone, I just had a few things today that I needed to go over with everyone. Had a lot of inquiries about different things that's coming up. First of all, I had the opportunity last night to be on a podcast called Into the Fire. It's with Detective Jason White. He is a homicide detective from Tulsa, Oklahoma, often seen on First 48. And had the opportunity to be on his podcast. So I did that. Hope that some of you had an opportunity to see it. You still can go to Spotify, iHeart, any of your favorite podcast platforms and catch it. I was there with Danny Couples, who is also a forensic investigator. So it's interesting what he had to say about Pusser and some of the things that we've learned about him. Also wanted to mention that we've had a lot, like I said, had a lot of inquiries about a meet and greet if we're going to get together again, and we plan to do so in May. Buford Pusser Festival takes place May 22nd through 24th, and as usual, I like to support the museum. So what our plans are then is to gather up in Selmer on Saturday, the 24th, and make the rounds like we usually do. We'll have a meet and greet there in Selmer. I'll cover the location at a later time when we get that set up. That gives us a chance to have coffee and donuts, get to know each other, and then we go on a tour of all the places that are of interest in relation to the Pusser legend. We'll start out going to the fairground where Buford left that night that he was killed. Second stop we will make will be the crash site itself, where we'll stop long enough to talk about that, explain what happened, answer questions. From there, we go on down into Adamsville to the museum, and anyone that wants can take a tour of it. That's the only cost that you might incur if you want to go through the museum. They do charge $10 for adults, lesser amounts for children. You can get the pricing on their page. We'll be there for an hour, hour and a half, and when we leave there, what our plans are would be to go down the course that Buford and Pauline took the morning of the ambush. That way everybody can see what it was like that day. The road conditions are much improved over what they were in 1967, but still yet, it gives you a look at the terrain. And if you're like me and you're inquisitive about this sort of thing, it will really make you stop and think, why would Buford want to take that route if he was going to Hollis Jordan's like that he first reported? When we get down to New Hope Road, we will stop at the New Hope Methodist Church, get out, look around, talk about what occurred there or allegedly occurred there. I'm not sure anything ever really did. From that point, we'll go down to the first ambush site, which is just 7/10 of a mile from the church. We'll take some time to stop and discuss what occurred at the ambush site. Then we'll get back in our vehicles. We'll drive down to the second ambush site, which is 2.1 miles further down the road at the intersection of Davis Yancey and New Hope Roads, and we'll take time to explain what Buford said happened at that particular site. From that point, we'll just drive about a mile further and we'll be at the state line. There we'll have an opportunity to see where the Shamrock stood, the motel, the restaurant, where the state line border lay. We'll also be able to look across the highway at the site where the Plantation Club once stood. And it's just a very short walk down to the White Iris, and we can get a look at that. After we leave there, we'll pass over the route or the spot where James Dickey was killed. And we'll just do a drive-by there because there's really not an area where you can park to see it. And in almost the same location is where Hollis Jordan's tavern once sat. It's no longer there, but on the same lot is where Tommy Bivens had his establishment later on. As we leave that area, we'll go down Highway 45 a ways, and we will make a drive-by so you can see where the Old Hickory Grill was. It's no longer there. Very close by, however, is Willie B's, and that building is still standing. So you'll get a look at that. We'll make a short circle and go down by the location where Alan McCoy's store was. Now, that is the place where Buford stopped after the ambush and where he was located. Of course, they found Pauline there. She was already deceased in the car. Buford was loaded onto an ambulance and taken to the hospital in Selmer. As we leave that area, we'll pass by where the state maintenance lot was, where Dennis and Johnny saw the gun transfer. And you'll have a look at that. From there, we'll go on down to the courthouse, and that will be the last stop for the day. You'll have an opportunity to go into the courtroom where Judge Treese held trial. You'll also have an opportunity to go up through the jail and see what a 1960s jail looked like. I remember them well because, of course, I got into law enforcement right in the early 70s. And, for instance, we were still operating in the same jail then as they did in the 60s. Finally, later that evening, a lot of us usually like to get together, go out to dinner. We'll have an establishment plan for that. That might be an expense to you if you decide to go. But that gives us one last chance to get together and see each other, visit, talk before we leave. Now, with the festival starting on the 22nd, there will be some people that arrive early. And so therefore, you might make some connections. That gives you time to go around to the various locations and look for things of interest that you might want to see. It just a great time getting together with people that we've met on, the internet. Many of us have never actually been face to face before, and that's always a great time. Just finally making acquaintances that you haven't been able to establish on the internet. So at any rate, I hope everybody can make that. I do hope to hear something about the TBI investigation and where it's at. I'm like everybody else. I'm anxious to hear what they found. Of course, by protocols, they have to be tight-lipped on everything, and I understand that. A lot of people don't understand that why it's taking so long. And I thought I might mention this, that of course it is a cold case. It's not a priority like a current case is. And of course, over the past year, they have had all sorts of things that have kept the TBI tied up. There was the missing person, the college student there in Memphis. They've had several officer-involved shootings. Of course, that requires the attention of the TBI. They've had the hurricane that went up the east side of Tennessee that's really strained their abilities to really work on the Pusser case. But it's slowly and surely coming together, I assume. Hopefully we will have heard something long before we get over there in May. And I would assume that would give us a lot of reason to have conversation while we're at the meet and greet. If you have any questions, be sure and post them on my Facebook page, and we'll try to keep you informed about what the plans are, what we're doing. We hope to be a lot better organized because the crowds just seem to keep getting a little bigger each year. We're going to have some additional traffic control this year to help us leave the area where that we first meet, get out on the highway so that we can all stay together. We're going to have maps and addresses printed up. So in case, that you want to skip for instance, the museum, but want to meet us at the church, you'll have directions of how to get there. We've also arranged for a portable PA system so that when we do stop at a site, everybody will be able to hear what we have to say. Of course, Dennis Hathcock will be there. And, he does a great job of telling what he and Johnny saw that evening prior to the ambush. So there is that. That's going to be something to hear. So, folks, I hope you can appreciate all that. We enjoy doing it. I really enjoy meeting everyone. It's not every day that you get to come face to face with somebody that you've interacted with on a Facebook page for 6 or 7 years. But last year, I did get to meet several of those people that I had exchanged a lot of comments with. And many of us had talked on the phone, but we had never actually met. I hope to have some special guests. Right now, we're looking at Detective Jason White, Tulsa homicide detective, as being there. You may have seen him on the program First 48. He's been on there several times. Also, Danny Couples, who is currently a critical care paramedic, but he has also been a forensic investigator. So he has a lot that he might add to the program, having his experience. And just like with Jason, being a homicide detective, they can look at these things and maybe see some things that we haven't. So I think that would be good. At any rate, I'm going to cut this off for now. I apologize for not having a regular video like I normally do. However, my young bride, Miss Connie, as you know, she had a surgery back in December, and we had doctor's appointments, follow-ups. She's doing really well, but that took up a lot of time. I did the podcast with Into the Fire, and just took up a lot more time than I thought. So that's life. But at any rate, we'll be back on track Thursday with another episode of Buford Pusser, The Other Story. And what we're going to do is get into the story of Larry Britt and Helen Pusser and the investigation that she tried to run into the death of Buford, trying to prove that he was murdered. And we'll explain Britt's involvement. We'll also get into the court battles that Helen got into over spending DeWanna's trust fund. There's just so much there. And the way that Britt just took her to the cleaners, and the way that she took DeWanna to the cleaners. So there is that. But we'll get started in that. It's going to take more than one episode to explain it all. I do have a lot of background information on that we can go through. And if you have any suggestions about things that you'd like to see, I would certainly appreciate it if you would send them to me. Post them on my Facebook page, or my email address is there on the Facebook page, and you could send them directly to me by that means. But folks, until then, just remember, truth has no agenda. We'll see you soon.